We are in the process, the delightful process of plowing our way through the book of Ephesians, a letter to the Ephesians in the New Testament. And this morning we are looking at Ephesians 4, 1 through 6, which I will be reading for you. Therefore, I, a prisoner for serving the Lord, beg you to lead a life worthy of your calling. For you have been called by God. Always be humble and gentle. Be patient with each other, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love. Make every effort to keep yourselves united in the Spirit, binding yourselves together with peace. For there is one body and one Spirit, just as you have been called to one glorious hope for the future. There is one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is over all, in all, and living through all. Who knows what this is?
Take a tree.
It's plant tape, right? Yeah. But it's a little different in that it's got sticky on it. And it is Velcro tape, right? Velcro tape, it can be pretty strong. It can hold up against all of the greatest wind. How does this stuff work, you know? How does Velcro work? It's got little hooks.
Yeah,
loops and
hooks and loops.
Hooks,
yeah, hooks and loops. I mean, here's a picture of it here, up close. The loops and the hooks over here that just hold this stuff together. How do you use Velcro? I use it for holding plants up on the stakes. I use it on my pockets here. This is Velcro here.
I have some on my sandals or shoes.
You have some on your sandals?
Use it for extremely long, put extremely long cables in an organized manner.
Sure, you can organize cables. You can actually use this stuff for organizing cables. This is an inexpensive alternative to the things that you buy in the electronics section that are for looping cables together. Yeah. This costs a lot less. This is the garden section.
In our classroom?
In the classroom, you use it to do what?
Put things up.
Put things on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Back when I was wearing shoes more often, I used to have a pair of athletic shoes that had Velcro on them that I put down, and I had to stop wearing them because it embarrassed my children. Because
you weren't taught how to tie your shoes on.
I was, but they said, it makes you look older than you are. That's okay, so I finally got rid of those shoes, but they worked really well, and I liked having, I mean, it was kind of a cool application of Velcro. The military used to use a lot of Velcro until they figured out that it was too noisy. You know, when it rips apart, they couldn't sneak up on anybody, apparently. If they, you know, the pocket got caught on something, it would make it, you know, it'd make a sound they didn't want to make. Velcro is one of the greatest inventions of the 20th century. I would say it's really right up there. It's somewhere up there with the fax machine. You know, it's one of the greatest inventions. It consists of thousands of these small hooks grabbing onto thousands of small loops, creating an incredibly strong bond. Velcro was the brainchild of a Swiss engineer named Jorge. My French is not good. So Georges de Mestral, who was out for a walk. He was on a nature walk in 1941, and as what happens often when you're on a nature walk, he began to wonder why there were so many burrs on his leg, on his pant legs, and on his dog's legs. And he began to wonder, as he was pulling those things off of his pants and off of his dog, he wondered if he could actually turn those little burrs into something useful. And so he spent the next 8 years researching his idea, and eventually he determined that he could attach two strips of fabric, one with thousands of tiny little hooks, and the other with thousands of tiny little loops together. And he named his invention Velcro, reportedly a combination of the words velvet and crochet. And he then patented his idea in 1955. And at first he used cotton for his hooks and for his loops, but eventually he decided that nylon lasted longer, and that became the standard for Velcro. Well, in Ephesians 4, 1 through 6, the apostle argues that we are called to Velcro. You are called to Velcro. That is, we are called to hold things together. In spite of the overwhelming force to pull the world apart, we are called to unite, to hook, to latch, to connect, to Velcro. Therefore, I, a prisoner for serving the Lord, beg you to lead a life worthy of your calling, for you have been called by God. Always be humble and gentle, be patient with each other, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love. Make every effort to keep yourselves united, hooked in the Spirit, binding yourselves together with peace. Once again, remember the radical themes of this letter. Jews and Gentiles are united. They are saved by Christ through grace to form a totally new entity, a masterpiece, according to chapter 2, verse 10, that transcends the religious, the social, the cultural differences of the world. Jews and Gentiles together. This is what Christ has done, and it is what Christ is doing. He is uniting people. He's uniting people with God, and He's uniting people with each other. Paul keeps saying this over and over again throughout the book, throughout the letter, but he says it in a slightly different way each time. It's as though he's taking the same diamond and he's holding it up to the light, and he's twisting it around at slightly different angles each time, and then he's describing what he sees as the light hits it in a slightly different way. And while he does not use the word Velcro in Ephesians 4, he most certainly would have used it had Velcro been invented. And basically he is saying that we have been united through Christ into a single group. Our calling then is to maintain that unity. And we live out that calling by attending to the little hooks and loops that Christ has given to us and which hold us together. You know, it's not the big things that count, is it? At least not the most. It's not the big unity rallies. It's not the big productions. It's not the big crusades. It's not the big press coverage. As helpful as those things might be at some point, but the things that really count are the thousands of little hooks and loops, the little actions, which each and of themselves seem to be fairly insignificant, but when combined with other hooks and loops, creates a powerful bond. So our calling doesn't have a lot to do with making a big splash, but it has everything to do with carrying out a lot of smaller hook and loop missions. Day in, day out. Each individual. You can see the patches of Velcro all over the place, hooking things together. And it's mostly invisible to the corporations. It's mostly invisible to the media outlets which our society looks to define significance. We're totally off the radar when we're doing all these small little hook and loop activities. So I want to spend a few moments this morning looking at some of the hook and loop connections that Paul mentions here. And again, none of this will come as a big surprise to you. He's been saying these kinds of things all over, you know, up to this point. And it certainly did not come as a big surprise to any of Paul's first century readers either, except that, you know, at least in the sense that he was talking about hooking up with the wrong kind of people. He was talking about a more radical and transformative idea than the invention of Velcro. The first hook mentioned is humility. Humility. If we're going to hold the church together, indeed, if we are going to hold the world together, we need to approach that task with humility. So look at verse 2. Always, 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 without exception, be humble. Who can help us define humility? Who's got a definition for humility?
Not thinking of yourself more highly than you ought to.
Not thinking of yourself more highly than you ought to. Okay? Who else has got a definition?
Putting others first.
Putting others first. So your definition is in terms of how you think about yourself, and your definition is in terms of how you act. Two dimensions of the same thing. Who can give us an example of what humility actually looks like?
Kurt Warner, when they won the Super Bowl. The first thing he said was, I give praise to God who gave me the ability to play quarterback in this league. Without him, I would be nothing.
Okay. So you're looking at an athlete. Yes, Mary?
The first time we went to feed the homeless, the guy came in, his shoes was all torn up, and Joshua took his shoes off and gave them to him.
That's a humble action. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Does anyone else have an example of what humility would look like?
It's the little things, just like you were talking about. It's not fighting back when you're persecuted. It's being able to be in a place that understands that others may be coming from a place you don't understand. And not being that aggressor when aggression comes your way. Being humble enough to understand that you don't always know. Being humble enough to understand that you don't always know. Yeah, and we talk about this in the wisdom to do that. Man, yeah.
It's like give and take, but without the take, just giving.
Say that again.
It's like give and take, but taking out giving, say like give and take. You're supposed to give something and you take something back, but instead of taking something back, you just give that person something. Yeah, you're in love, so no.
You give it without expecting that you're going to get something back.
I think if you are the leader and you lead a team, but you do all the hard job and you listen to your worker, what they have suggestion for do the job. This is the humility.
I think of humility when we've been having an English club in the Carl's Jr. And sometimes I go in there and the manager is out bussing and cleaning tables.
Yes, do the hard job.
Everyone else is off doing something else, and so he's doing the grunt work. You know, he's the top guy. You'd think that everybody would be, running all over the place to please him, but he's out doing some of the tough work himself. He doesn't see himself as being above that task. That just kind of strikes me as being an example of what humility looks like. But so why is it a big challenge for us to be humble? What makes that a challenge?
Because it's a hard job, very, very hard. Nobody wants to be the bottom of the line.
Nobody wants to be the bottom person.
Yes, they want to the top.
Yeah, we've been working all along to get to the top. We've been trying to climb the ladder, and then once you get to the top of the ladder, I'm supposed to go down to the bottom?
And
to wash tables?
Not in this way. I think even you on the top, but you still humble yourself to go down to put yourself as in the bottom with the people, so you can get their relationship and lead them to the top.
The relationship, because you're creating the relationship with people in order to raise those people up.
Yeah. It's in this way.
Yeah. How does how does humility create a bond among people?
If you work with them together in the bottom, they trust you, they listen you, they follow
creates
you.
trust and it creates followers
Yes.
who are willing to go. I mean, as opposed to exercising assertive brute strength. If you're down there, if you're working with people, if you know they begin to have a relationship with you, and that moves things forward a lot faster and a lot more smoothly than if you're sitting up on your high spot and you're barking orders at them.
Yes.
Or trying to intimidate them. You're going to lose your job if you don't da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yes.
If you're down there in the trenches with people. Yeah, that's how it creates a bond. The second Hook mentioned is gentleness. Gentleness, obviously, gentleness is very close to humility, for in order to be gentle, you have to be humble, and in order to be humble, you have to be gentle. Verse 2 again, always be humble and gentle. And in our world, gentleness is often seen as weakness. Biblically speaking, though, it takes more strength to be gentle, that is, to be restrained, than it takes to assert force. Even when the goal of the force seems right and just, a gentle person is still a restrained person. A gentle church is a restrained church. Now, personally, there are two kinds of people that challenge my restraint. I have trouble acting gently around power mongers. Those who are trying to assert control or power over other people, particularly if they are vulnerable people, but power mongers in general, people that just want to be powerful, want to be controlling of other people. When a government official makes you jump through extra hoops just so that you know that he's in charge, when he could make things go smoothly for you, when the permits would go through smoothly, you know, it really wouldn't take a whole lot more effort on that person's part to make things go smoothly, but they want to make sure that you know that they have some control and some power. Or the homeowners association, when some homeowners associations get extremely nitpicky about every little thing. So instead of responding to problems in the neighborhood, they start looking for things to make into a problem so that they can show you that they have some kind of power and control. And when I encounter that kind of attitude, I have a really hard time responding kindly and softly. I want to fight fire with fire. I suddenly feel this compulsion inside to cut them down to size, to help them understand that they are not really that good. The other kind of people that make it hard to be gentle are those who have mobile boom boxes in their cars. Where the car bass system shakes the whole house as they are parked out on the street in front of our house. And it's painful on my ears. I get it tight in there, and I want to run out the front door and kick in their speakers. Just get into there and take and just. Or sometimes I wish that I had bigger speakers than their speakers, because I would just take. I have this fantasy when they're out there, the garage door would open, and all you could see are these humongous speakers pointing out the garage door, and they would be directional. And they would pivot, and they would go. They'd home in on that car, and it would blast them with Mozart. It would just be blasting Mozart at them. And it would make the glass in their cars ripple. And it would just blow those cars away with the wonderful sound. It's hard to do, but I have developed an alternative strategy that has worked just as kind of a bunny trail. Every time in our over-based neighborhood, When this happens now, I paste on the biggest smile I can, and I stroll out to the guy who is usually standing by his car so he can enjoy the feel of the bass. You realize they can't really feel the bass in the car. They have to be, it's on the outside. And I walk up to the guy by the car, and by the way, it's always a guy. You notice that? Women don't seem to need big bass speakers.
We're always under control, that's why.
They don't need those things. And so I walk up to the guy and I say, wow, that is one impressive sound system. And he said, then I say something like, it's so powerful that it is rattling all the plates in our house. And I think the shelves are about to fall off the wall. And I keep smiling as I'm saying this. As though we're a very positive thing. Because, it's an impressive sound system. And then the guy always starts apologizing. It's not the same guy, but I've had the same conversation with multiple people, and they always respond in the same way. They start apologizing, and then they run over into the car and they turn off the sound. And I thank him, and that's the end of it. But I want you to know that is a hard conversation that taxes my ability to be gentle. It is not my natural way of responding to these guys. But it can be done, even when it would be more fun, a lot more fun, to kick in his sound system. I might even get some boots to do it. The third hook mentioned is patience. Patience. Oh yes, it's right here. It's in the Bible. It's the Apostle Paul talking about it. And it triggers in my head that song, right? The Herbert the Snail song, remember? Oh, it's in here. Have patience, don't be in such a hurry. When you get impatient, you only start to worry. Remember that God is patient too, and think of all the times when others have to wait for you. Or as Paul puts it in verse 2, be patient with each other. Be patient with each other. It's fun to preach that to our kids, but the world lacks patience about almost everything, right?
Yes.
Well, we are all about rush orders, fast food. We don't want to make people wait. There was a guy, I was in McDonald's this morning picking up some sandwiches, and there was a guy that walked into the door, and there was one person in line, and he would start talking really loud about how inefficient this place was because he wanted his food right now. I was like, whoa, he's just gushing all over the place. We're into this mode where we think that we should have instant service and instant this and instant that. And now we've got Amazon Prime Now. Free 2-hour delivery.
You're welcome.
Patience in this kind of environment is countercultural. It's definitely against the flow. But without it, the church falls apart. And then if the church falls apart on this matter, it definitely cannot model patience for the rest of the world, which definitely needs to slide into a slower lane if it's going to avoid crashing. Patience is one of the Velcro hooks and loops that's essential for the unity of the church and the health of the world. 4, tolerance. The fourth hook and loop is tolerance. Who can define tolerance? Anyone?
Willing to put up with something even though you don't like it.
Willing to put up with something even though you don't like it. Where does Paul mention it in this passage?
Make allowance for each other's faults because of your
Verse 2, yes, make allowance for each other's faults. What does that mean? To make allowance for each other's faults?
To be tolerant.
To be tolerant. What's that look like?
That was the smile on your face when you were talking to that gentleman with such nice music.
I don't know that I was willing to tolerate his music. It means that the church is made up of people who do things differently, right? There were Jews and there were Gentiles. Never shall the twain meet, because not only are they socially different people, but they did everything differently. What's wrong with this statement? Our church accepts everyone as long as they are willing to change and fit into how we do things. Our church accepts everyone as long as they are willing to change and fit into how we do things.
It's not acceptance if you're asking someone to change.
They gotta change by themselves.
You're not really accepting them.
You're not really accepting them. You're not really tolerating them.
You're making them somebody they don't want to be.
It's a condition.
It's a condition.
Yeah.
We'll accept you then.
You accept them, but there's a catch to it. You got to change what you are.
So you're not really accepting them.
It's more like a preliminary, like we'll accept you for a trial
for
basis.
a price.
and then if
You
you,
drink our Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Or it's kind of like the AARP cards they keep sending me in the mail, that they've accepted me as a member of
but you have to pay.
AARP, but then put your check in the mail.
That's not church.
You better accept the person for who they are.
Say that again?
You better accept the person for who they are.
You accept the person for who they are.
And where they are in their journey.
And where they are in their journey, because we're all in different spots on it.
And God doesn't want us to all be in the same spot. That's the masterpiece. And this goes right back to what Paul has said. How boring the art piece would be if we were all in the exact space and we all looked like the same piece of art. Then there is no art.
And if we we were all in the exact same spot on the journey, and if our journeys were all identical journeys.
Right.
Some of us come out of different cultural backgrounds, and we have different home lives and kind of backgrounds as well. And those are all valid experiences, even though not all of them were happy experiences, but they were valid experiences because they happened to you, and they formed how you look at the world. And so you're kind of bringing all these people together who are just by nature different. And then some of it is that the church is also made up of broken people. I don't know if you notice this, but a few of you have faults.
Just a few.
Well, I didn't want to overwhelm you with the information. Just a little bit. You've got some. I want you to know that you've got some problems. You're problem people.
Serious problems.
You got some serious problems.
You real revelation.
And if you get into a huff every time someone who has a problem unintentionally or even intentionally offends you because their problem rubs against your problem, you're going to start to pull back and pull apart. The thing about tolerance is that we extend it to undeserving people. Right? And as we do that, they and we are changed for the better. It's part of God's transformation process. If you're waiting for people to change before you tolerate them, then you are not really tolerating them. The fourth hook is love.
Yes.
Is that fifth?
Yeah.
The next hook is love.
That's number 5.
Yeah.
Be tolerant.
I appreciate your tolerance. Some of us are number challenged. Verse 2 again. Make allowance for each other's faults because of your love. And I really want to thank the Apostle Paul for working hard to fit into our Valentine's Day theme. But obviously, this is not the romantic kind of love. Love in the Bible is not just having deep affection, but it is allowing the affections to change the way that you operate. Practically speaking, what does this kind of love look like in your experience? As opposed to just kind of... What does love that sinks into experience look like? Speaking louder.
Joy.
Joyful. It's got a joy to it. Okay.
I think this one kind of love is like you have a child, and who does a very bad things and wrong things, but you still embrace him, and you don't take him out of the house. Maybe the child does really bad things and wrong things, hurt the whole family, but you still embrace him and don't take him out, but you give him a chance.
Yeah, you're not taking, you're giving other people chances.
Yeah.
Love involves chances.
Yes.
This love is unconditional. This is the truly, that was the knowledge that was last week in Ephesians. It was there was that dichotomy of words.
To know something that's beyond all knowledge. To know
Okay,
the love.
to know beyond all knowledge.
To
A love
know
that's
it, but it's
beyond all comprehension.
Yeah.
It's so beyond comprehension.
Yeah.
And it's so much deeper. It's this unconditional that isn't present even here. Like, almost it's so unearthly.
We're not there yet. I mean,
No.
we will know it. But
But everything we have here is just this attempt to understand how deep this love is. And that's what takes it so much further than anything that's here in the relationships we have. And it's that power you feel as it comes through all the different relationships and all the different places that you see it. It's that strength of the unconditional love. That love that's there when you're broken. That's when you've made that mistake. That's when you, in every piece of good and bad in your life, that love is just powering through.
It takes some discipline to gain love. It takes some discipline to gain love.
It takes some discipline to gain love. Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm. Basically said.
Say a little bit more about that. How do you say
It's
it?
practically like, say if you get in trouble, like someone, like the person might not forgive you for a while, but afterwards they will forgive you and hold you in their arms and like pretty much still be mad at you a little bit, but they're going to talk to you and have you recognize what you did was wrong, and make sure you don't do that thing again next time.
Yeah, the very fact that they're willing to
So pretty much
keep the relationship going even though you've wronged them.
You don't know if that person has gone through that same thing you have done or not. So you don't learn from your mistakes. And the ones that you not say.
Kind of love is the tough, very tough love. It's like somebody is hurt you so much, and you don't want to see the guy or the person, but you also cannot forgive the person the wrongdoing for you, and so in order to love this person, you can ignore it. It's like you never meet these people, the person, you just and see through him. So don't you not make any problem and make any conflict with him anymore. So you can get peace. The person can get peace. This is one kind of the tough love.
I'm not sure that that's tough love, because the love that you're talking about, or what you're describing as love, is coming out of the hurt.
Yeah, coming out of the hurt, but you cannot forgive the hurt.
But the tough love Tough love comes out of a decision, not out of the hurt that people have done to you, but out of a decision to act firmly on behalf of somebody else in order to help them grow stronger.
But the problem is, maybe you think you hurt, the person hurt you, maybe the person think you hurt him also. At that time, it's very tough and very hard to how mend it together.
To mend together, it's hard.
It's really hard. This
Right.
is not what I say, the tough
Maybe
love.
it's a hard love,
Yeah.
but we have a phrase in English, tough love,
Yeah, tough.
which means that you are, for example, in a tough love might be in a family where there is a child who is acting irresponsibly, and the parents have to say, you cannot continue to live in this house when you act this way. We still love you, but you are going to have to go make it on your own until you can start to figure things out here. We'll be with you. We'll keep in touch with you and help you as we can. But you've got to go take care of some issues, and by forcing that issue, that would be called tough love.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
But it's the wrong word.
Yeah,
But
you're talking about what you're talking about is how do you maintain
the peace.
tolerance?
Yeah, tolerance.
How do
and
you
peace.
tolerate people that where you just
Yeah.
can't? You've had really hard time seeing eye to eye, where people are just so different.
Yes.
And that is just, you just keep working at it over time and time.
Yeah, I think this is one kind of the love also, because you don't critique.
Well, it's the persistence in it that is the love, that you're willing to keep
peace.
No, it's a little bit different than peace, but you're willing to keep working at it, knowing that it's not working quite right at this point. Yeah. Yes.
Pretty much all we're saying right now is like there's all different types of love.
There is. Absolutely.
Corinthians kind of spells it out.
1 Corinthians 13. Yeah. Well, let's jump on to the next one. The next Velcro hook that keeps the church connected is peace. It's peace. Verse 3, make every effort to keep yourselves united in the Spirit, binding yourselves together with peace. With peace. If humility, gentleness, patience, tolerance, and love are the ingredients in the cake, peace is the frosting. It's the sweetness and the most externally obvious ingredient in the cake. Peace is the Hebrew notion of shalom, or the Hawaiian notion or idea of aloha. It is harmonious existence where everything is in place, where everyone is getting along, even though they are not all the same. And we're not surprised to see it mentioned here as an essential Velcro hook. Jesus was definitely on the peace train. And frankly, we probably do not fly the peace flag high enough. And I wonder if it's not because we're afraid of looking like a bunch of hypocrites if we were to do so. In the small central Washington town where we served a church for 5 years right out of seminary, there was another church in town called Peace Lutheran Church. And I was good friends with the pastor. The problem was that they were constantly fighting with each other in that church. They had gone way back generations. And the church was anything but peaceful. And everyone in town saw the irony of a church named Peace that was not peaceful. But imagine the impact of church if people were known for their humility, gentleness, patience, tolerance, and love, and it just had this ambiance of peace about it. You know, that when you think of this peace church, you realize, yeah, that is peace. It sounds peaceful, doesn't it? It makes you feel peaceful. It makes you feel at ease. It disarms the anxiety that you have to be around these people. rest of the world runs on power, control, violence, intimidation, bigger sticks, more weapons, better equipped soldiers, greater maneuverability. But the church is modeling this alternative society started by Jesus and advocated by Jesus. As people united in peace, we are actually making peace an accessible alternative, not just individuals, but to the world which God is in the process of recreating. It's going to happen. Resistance is futile, but people and nations do it anyway. They resist. They're still trying to win the game by the old tried and tested strategies. Meanwhile, Jesus is in the process of implementing a new regime with new rules and a new set of values. And you start to ask yourself, well, what's the point of cornering the market on buggy whips when horse-drawn carriages have become obsolete? What's the use of having the biggest and the most powerful army when Jesus is in the process of rolling out an era defined by peace? And we're on that mission with Jesus. We're called to work with Jesus in his Velcro mission. A mission that flies the peace flag. The key point this morning is that we're called to work with Jesus in his Velcro mission. We're called to work with Jesus in his Velcro mission. The world wants to pull everything apart, nitpick things to death, scrutinize everybody to the point where they have no life left. It just wants to do you in. But Jesus is pulling people and things together. He's connecting them with hooks and loops, thousands of tiny, small, little hooks and loops, and you are a part of it. This is your calling. This is our calling, to be together as modern Jews, as modern Gentiles, so that the rest of the world can start to catch the vision. It's a calling from God. And really, we have no excuse to do otherwise. Here's the deal. You are not allowed to say, I'm not patient by nature. Or you are not allowed to say, I am not naturally given to humility. Or you're not allowed to say, I have a hard time tolerating people. I'm not very flexible. The point is, of course you're not. Of course you're not patient. Nobody is. Of course you're not tolerant. Of course you're not humble by design, by natural course. That's the whole point of this thing. No one is. But it is our calling to become what is unnatural to us. And when we say that we can't do this, we are denying that Christ lives in us and that his Spirit is guiding us. If God sends you on a mission, and he has, you're all on a mission, he's going to resource you for that mission. Do you believe that? Do you believe that God is going to resource you for all those little hooks and loops that he's given to you to do? Yeah. Therefore, I, a prisoner for serving the Lord, beg you to lead a life worthy of your calling. Worthy of your calling. And that is the good news. Does somebody have a comment or a question, something to add, or maybe a word of testimony? Maybe how you've seen this at work in your life. Some aspect.
I don't say that. Edson always sit next to me, and he always, as soon as you say that, he does this. These guys can speak as well. Shouldn't always be me, guys. Right? All right. I've had some good days and some hills to climb. I've had some weary days and some sleepless nights. But when I look around, I think things over, all of my good days outweigh my bad days. And so I won't complain. Sometimes the road gets long, I can hardly see the light. So I ask the question, Lord, why so much pain? But He knows what's best for me, even though my weary eyes, they don't always see. And I want to say, thank you, Lord.
Yes.
Thank you, Lord. Yes. And I won't complain. He dries all of my tears away.
Yes.
Turns my midnights into days. And I want to say, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. And I won't complain. Amen.
Amen. So, what I really want to know is, does she sing this stuff for you guys on a daily basis? Talk about blessed. Thank you. Someone else want to say something? Ask a question.
I think somebody's thing is how to do the all six things. Humility and let me see. It's not easy to work together at the one time, maybe at a different time. Especially we have a hard time, we have a problem, and no matter somebody create a problem for you or you create a problem for yourself. And we always have a hard time to be gentle and patient and tolerate and love and peace. But this is my experience. Yes, I have a hard time to do all these six things. But only have one thing I do, and then all the things part with me like a luxury. I don't need to attempt to do this one. I don't need to attempt to be gentle, humility, and not my neighbor as myself. I only do one thing is enough, is faith in God. And then when I have a hard time, I have a problem, and God will teach me to do all these ones. These kind of things.
What you're saying is that this is the activity of God.
Yes. So we have faith in God.
The fruit of the Spirit.
There you go.
Yes.
Joy, peace, patience,
Did you notice the parallel between all this?
Yes.
The fruit of the Spirit is, and it's the Spirit's work in our lives. It's not what we generate ourselves, but in the process of hearing the Word, it stirs it within us. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control.
Yes. So we automatically can do this, all the things. We don't need to worry anything.
You don't have to worry about it. You just do it. Yeah, Galatians 5:20. 22.
A month ago, I got in trouble because I stole from the store, and there was consequences.
Yep.
And it's just when I stole, I didn't really think about it. I just took it, and I thought I wouldn't have enough money. And then when I got caught, I had to pay for it, and that was 5 cents. Like, I had 5 cents left. And then I went all the way back, and then I had to do like chores. I had to work outside. And I think God's telling me, it's like, what should you do bad if they have consequences to it, and it's not good to do bad stuff, it's like to do good stuff.
And you know what? That's tough love. The reason why they're making the consequences for you is because they love you. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Hallelujah. You know, these guys, they go through a lot of things, and they sometimes, you know, they come from different situations that were very hard for them.
Yeah.
And I thank God that He sent them to us because they know we do truly love them. And not only that, is to help them get better. Not to, I can't baby you, I didn't come to work and cradle you and rock you to sleep. I come to work to help you get better, so when you go from among us, you do better. And they have, each one of these guys have grown tremendously. We have not been here because they did bad things. We just have not been here because schedules changed and blah, blah, blah. But these guys have grown and changed so in this last, I tell you, I'm so blessed to be able to experience and see the growth, you know what I mean, in these guys. And I love them dearly, and they have lots of respect for me. I respect them. I am the only one that I can take them anywhere. And they don't do anything. But when they are, well, not when they out from among me, they do things that they should do. And my lesson to them is, don't just do good when you're with me. Do good when you're with anybody. Just do good. Right, guys?
Yes.
They're working on it.
Yeah, they're working on it little by little, inch by inch, but it's amazing how He's working in their lives, and they miss you guys, believe me. When are we going back to church? They've been driving me crazy. So for 2 weeks, I knew we were going today, and well, when I finally told them, it was yes! So they love you guys, you know, and they were so excited. And I don't tell them to get all dressed up like this either. This is their thing. I never told them what to wear to church. You can wear shorts if you want. But
Yeah, you can if you want.
On Sundays, they get up and they take out a lot of time getting dressed, grooming and everything. That's their thing. But they miss you guys.
Yes, we miss you guys also. Exactly.